We welcome to the show Gregory Jbara. How's it going?
Hey, Chris. It's nice to be connected across the pond and the entire continent of the US, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're in LA, I'm in London, so yeah. What,
Yeah.
what time
And
is it over there?
it's we're starting 2 minutes early. It'll be 11 o'clock a.m. 2 minutes. And I think I've been awake for about an hour and a half, which is the luxury of no longer having your 9 to 5 TV job. You can sleep sometimes.
Yeah, I've been awake all day. Yeah, yeah, it's about seven in the
Right.
morning. Yeah, so
Right. You probably had a full day, haven't you? Yeah.
yeah, full on. So let's start at the beginning. How did you first get the role of Garrett Moore in Blue Bloods?
Well, the when when Blue Bloods was announced that it was going into production in New York City, I was starring in Billy Elliot, the musical on Broadway as Billy's dad, and I had worked with Tom Selleck on the movie In and Out. That's when he and I first met, and then he had hired me on two other TV shows that weren't nearly as successful as Blue Bloods. One was a single camera comedy called Touch 'Em All McCall, and the other was a sitcom called The Closer, and it also starred Ed Asner and Penelope Ann Miller and David Krumholtz, and I guessed it on one of those episodes. That series didn't make, I think the first 6 or 7 episodes aired, and then it was dropped. Um, so when it was announced that Tom Selleck's cop show's coming to New York, I'm thinking, oh, I'll just, get my agents involved. We'll let them know that I'm interested, and I'm sure Tom will, throw me a guest role or something. And it was July of their first season, so I guess it was 2010, maybe, or 9, 2010, fall, July of 2010. I went in for three different characters, three different episodes, and never got hired. And also, Tom was never in the room. He wasn't technically an executive producer at that time, so he wasn't involved to the day-to-day hiring. And and when the other two jobs, not the other two TV gigs, he was there. He was actually in the room when I was auditioning for the other producers. So I always felt like he was sort of going, here's my guy. So three different, completely different roles. I think they were all cops, maybe, I don't know, government types, nothing. And I thought, oh, the honeymoon's over. But I did find solace in the fact that he wasn't there. He probably didn't even know I was auditioning, to tell you the truth. So that was the July, and then they started airing in end of September. And in the spring of 2011, my agent calls and says, hey, uh, apparently Tom wants you to play this 2 episode arc at the end of their first season. Um, he wants you to do it. The producers know who you are, but they're asking if you would come in and read for them. And I'm thinking, yeah, I haven't met them. I mean, I'm proud. I don't have an ego where that's concerned. I'm always eager to pursue employment. So, and the key, of course, to work is always glad handing people, like being in the room where they can go, oh, you're a living, breathing human. You're not toxic. You're fun to be around. Yes, let's hire you. Because there's always like 30 people who could do the job, but they always want the person who they're going to enjoy spending time with. That's, I think, a real hard and fast rule in, I think, almost any aspect of life. So I went, yeah, I'll come in. And they said, well, they want you to come in tomorrow. And I said, I can't. I can't come in tomorrow because I'm still doing 8 shows a week on Billy Elliot. And the next day, we're doing a put-in rehearsal for a new Billy who's making his Broadway debut that night. And that is, put-in rehearsal means all of us, he's in full costume, not the rest of the cast. We have a full orchestra. It's with the entire set, all the moving technology, everything. It's the one chance this child gets to work on everything with everybody before they perform in front of 1,400 paying audience members that evening. And I said, I can't not be there for this child. I have to do this put-in rehearsal. I spend 60% of my time on stage with him. Um, Tell the producers I'll come in the next day. But I can't do it. I have an obligation to this job. So my agent's going, you don't have to go to that put-in rehearsal. I go, I know technically, contractually, I don't, but I have to. So she's going, all right, and thinking the job's gone away. And I did the put-in rehearsal, and I'm in my dressing room after the put-in rehearsal that day, and I get a phone call from my agent who says, they hired you anyway. So you got the job. You're doing this 2 episode arc. And it was originally a 2 episode arc. It was the third and second to last episodes of season 1. And at the end of the second episode, we're shooting at Bamonte's Italian restaurant, where Garrett and the commissioner have one of their bromance. Hey man, I'm not letting you go. I think it was a letter of resignation scene, maybe. And Kevin Wade, our executive producer, asks if will come over and sit with him at a table because we have the whole restaurant that day. And he sits me down and he goes, so are you enjoying this? And I went, at first, my insecurity went, why do I seem like I'm unhappy or ungrateful? Because I'm actually, working with a pal, doing on a really great TV show. No, I'm having a blast. I hope I haven't given off mixed signals. He goes, no, no, no. He goes, we really enjoy you in this role, and it's a great chemistry. And I'd like to continue writing for you next season if it's something you'd want to do. And I was thinking, I'm hearing choirs of angels and fireworks going off, and I'm going, this is what you always hope would happen. And it came right. I had won the Tony Award playing Billy's dad on Broadway, and then I'm handed this potentially ongoing job security on a TV show that stars a pal of mine that I've known for over 20 years. So it's kind of like, it's a little dreamy. It's like the cliche, oh, things just fall in your lap. I do consider myself one of the luckiest people in the industry that for some reason Tom likes working with me.
And of course, Garrett's a great character. And you was in the series from the first series to the very last series. I think it was 14 series in total. So did you have any idea it would last that long?
Absolutely not, because even after our first season, everybody was waiting for CBS to decide whether they were going to go forward. And I think after the first season, when they officially made the announcements at the upfronts, when networks used to put on big shows at Radio City to woo the advertisers to buy, advertising minutes, we never really knew until maybe the day before CBS would announce it publicly. And I think that was the case. They might have made a couple of season commitment after that first season, but then around season 5 or 6, if I'm remembering correctly, every season it was, oh, well, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. So for the last 8 to 10 seasons, we never knew until a decision was made close to publicly announcing that we were being renewed. But the show. Yeah. So did I know? No. Was I just happy to be both working on Broadway and on a TV show while living in New York City? Yes, that was really great and really fun. And yeah, 14. Actually, we, excuse me, we technically aired over 15 seasons because of the strike delay, but it was 14 years of unemployment, 14 years of employment.
Yeah.
With some of the best people I've ever had the privilege to know and work with.
And was it like a family experience with the actors? I mean, you saw them for so many years. That's unusual for an actor, isn't it?
It is unusual for that. I mean, from my experience, that kind of longevity. I mean, I've done Broadway shows that have run 3 years. I've done a couple of TV shows that went 5 or 6 seasons. And without much primary character change. For everybody here to to stick it out, not stick it out. Everybody loved it. Everybody had gratitude. They knew how lucky they were to be on a show that was so well received and that everybody was proud of. There were, we lost a few cast members who, you know, really said, I need to go do something else. And our producers were kind enough to provide them avenues to exit, even though some had contractual obligations and some didn't. Uh, but yeah, in the end, every person that was there, including every crew member, was because they wanted to be there. And job security in this industry is fleeting. So it was it was a it was an emotional final season. I have to admit there was a lot of when you really are faced with, even though every season we're like, oh, we don't know if we're coming back. They weren't tearing the sets down. They weren't putting everything in mothballs. They're waiting just for the official approval. When Garrett's office was completely stripped of all the props and all the furniture, we still had maybe 3 more episodes to shoot. But when I'd walk around at stage 8 to go sit at my desk and it wasn't there, it was like, oh yeah,
It's really
we're
happening.
close. Yeah. And then I don't know if you've had the chance to see, but there was a lot of footage of all of our sound stages empty, uh, which I'd never seen. Stage 8, stage 5, 14, 5 and 6. Yeah. I never knew what those acoustically padded walls looked like because it was all, you know, filled with magical, fictional structures.
Yeah, I mean, 14 seasons, that is rare, isn't it, to have that many seasons?
It is, and especially part of uh, the old network TV construct, which is you when before the internet streaming started taking over, we were doing 22 episodes a season, and sometimes 23 or 24, depending on whether CBS had a lot of, extra holiday or sports programming that was monopolizing airtime. Uh, we were, I think we our last season was maybe 18 episodes. Um, and where was I going with that? Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
Uh, the other thing was, yeah, we would then the show we'd finish shooting, but then every episode would air throughout the summer. We'd have reruns that would air, and so you felt like you were ever present on the network, and yeah, that kind of broadcasting and being a part of something like that is yeah, that's going away. Streaming is now, everything's being produced for binging and people watching at their own time. And it's been nice. The fans going, what are we going to do? 10 o'clock on a Friday night. Maybe get an extra hour sleep.
Over here, well, I've been watching the DVDs. Me and my wife, we love the show, and we've got all of the DVDs, but we haven't watched the final series yet. So we got that to look forward to.
As in the entire final season.
Yeah, the final season because it's not out on DVD
Oh,
yet. So
are you good about not looking at the teasers that are on Facebook and
yeah, we got all the DVDs here, so we got all 14 seasons. Yeah.
all there? You just so what brought you to the show?
Originally, my family watched it, and then obviously I moved out, and then I watched it with my girlfriend. Now she's my wife. Yeah, I mean it's been a long time, hasn't it? So
Oh wow! Oh, did you have family members on the job in law
no, not
enforcement?
at all, not at all. But we love American shows, and I think a great thing about Blue Bloods was there was a real family aspect to the show, wasn't there? It wasn't just a cop show, I thought, anyway.
Yeah. It for those who really scrutinize the storytelling, there was a big shift that happened from season 1, where the original show creators were really making the show what's the word, procedural, and Tom and Kevin Wade knew that longevity would be seated in making it character driven. And I don't know if you remember, there was a real time crime center that was right outside the commissioner's office where he would just step out and look at a bunch of green screens that had all the action going on. And he would just stand there and point and tell people what to do. And Tom, recounts these experiences regularly. He goes, I couldn't do that. He goes, that just doesn't seem like we're going to hold an audience's attention. And that was a very expensive set that went away. Actually, it was completely gone by the time I came on for the third to last episode. They just got rid of it, and and I know they're bringing realizing Garrett as a actual human being, because the DCPI was mentioned in a couple of episodes prior, but we never saw him.
Hmm.
And Tom's going, yeah, we gotta make this about people, and I think that's the great thing that the show did was you ended up caring about the characters and that family dinner. I mean that hook, which was Leonard Goldberg's idea, was really is the centerpiece, right? I mean, even I, who grew up Catholic in suburban Detroit, Sunday dinners were sacred, and often they were at Grandpa's house with many other cousins and aunts and uncles, and it was like, and I so it really resonates, I think, for a lot of people, that because we're all developing very short attention spans as technology comes flying in and out of our brains. So the idea of getting people to sit still and enjoy each other's company and discuss what's going on, that kind of connective time spent holding space, it seems like it's a thing of the past. And I think that was also one of the things that made the show so lovable.
Yeah. And it was interesting because before Blue Bloods, I noticed there was a lot of sort of anti-hero shows in America, wasn't there? Like, I don't know, like Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, great shows as well. But this was very different. It moved in a different direction, but that's probably what made it so popular as well.
They also, I also think our writers did a wonderful job, because I think we dealt with important issues, but without, the show didn't say, here's our point of view. They said, here's this side of the argument, here's the other side of the argument, and here's another little gray area that all needs to be given respect and air, so that anyone who watches the show comes away feeling heard or seen, instead of, because it's a lot of social stuff. I mean, there's a lot of ethical issues, right? And political too. And what I liked about the show was it didn't say, oh, this is what we're about. It's like, yeah, these are the struggles that we're all facing right now. And what do you think? And I think that was also a beautiful way of empowering audiences and making them want to come back, because they get to they get to ruminate from their own life experiences about very important issues that we're all dealing with.
Yeah, and the majority of your scenes, of course, were in 1PP along with Abigail and, of course, Sid and Frank
Yeah.
as well. Um,
Yeah.
I thought that was a great part of the show. I mean, I think it really added to it.
Thanks. I'll take full credit. Uh, when my first day of work, I thought, oh, great, I get to work with my pal Tom Selleck, and then I met Abby Hawk in the van as we were driving to locate. We were shooting a press conference outside the actual 1PP, and she's so beautiful. But then you go, oh, you are irreverently funny and really kind and really appealing. And she ended up becoming the thing that I looked forward to go to work. Was I got to hang out with Abby Hawk, because she makes you feel good. She's so kind, and she's just got the sickest sense of humor. So you can go to all the dark places for laughs off camera with her that you didn't know you could with a woman. You look at someone like that and you go, oh, we have to be, Betty Crocker. And that I look forward to. And then when our writers so wisely brought Bob Clohessy, Gormley, from Donnie's world at his precinct into the commissioner's office. It was such a great additional sort of blue, he's the he's the real, backbone of the of the police department, the blue collar guy who's not not he doesn't have $1 million vocabulary. He's just earnest and tells it like it is, and sometimes a little slower than everyone else in the room. And it was such another refreshing um, shift to that world that is, the commissioner's microcosm. And then again, like I have Bob and Abby on a chat thread right here on my phone, and I'll be bragging to them about our podcast today. And I
Yeah,
think I
please
think
do.
we should, yes, like here, this was, this is like right now. We had a dinner party and I sent them photos, and we're
Nice.
all, yeah, they're the greatest. And we had fires here, and Tom's house is in a place that is more potentially threatened. He has an avocado ranch and some and majestic historic oaks, and but he called all of us, Abby, Bob, and me. But he called we were playing. He and I were playing phone tag because I've been working, and um, he just wanted to check in and make sure that we're all good. My house particularly, that because his son went to Pali High. The Pacific Palisades got obliterated. The entire village of Pacific Palisades is gone. And my youngest went to high school at the same high school that his son went to. And um, so, even he, who's, I always tell people, yeah, we don't hang out. Like we're not on, like Bob and Abby and I, we were on speed dial, right? Tom, he has his own. He's on a different level. Not that he says that's what I am. You just go, right. He's got his space. He likes to, but when he's at work, he's like all in, and he's 100% present. Also, the hardest working person I've ever met. But all that saying, yeah, and I was at dinner. I was at dinner with my best friend from grade school's family in Richmond, Virginia, 2 weekends ago, and we're at dinner, and Tom calls, and I went, I'm just bragging. This says Tom Selleck, caller ID on my phone. He's calling me. And then I had to go, hey, TS, sorry, man. I'm actually a dinner partner. I'll call you back. Tag, I'm it. And we did that for like 3 days playing phone tag. I love that guy. He's been really loyal to me.
And it's great you're all so friendly, off of the show as well. You don't always hear that.
Yeah. I mean, we've all been exposed to real toxic people, right? Um, yeah, this show was really good at anybody who clearly wasn't happy to be there and didn't have the gratitude. They helped them find the door. They went, we all like coming to work. We all like being here, and it seems like you might need to work some stuff out. If you're not happy, we're happy to let you go find your happiness elsewhere. So ultimately, the we it was everybody who we really really enjoyed being together.
Yeah,
Good,
I think
really.
there's only a couple of characters I remember leaving the show. There was Linda, of course, and there was also Cortola. She went as well. They're the two big ones I remember that.
Yeah, Donnie's original partner, who was spectacular in the show. She, I never had personal conversations with either of them. They both wanted other things,
Yeah.
and you know, and my perspective, as women in the industry, they're like going, I want my own show. And I'm a woman, so the clock is ticking. When I turn 40 or whatever, and I start looking older, maybe I'm not going to be as marketable. So I'm loving this gig, being second fiddle or whatever, and working long hours. Uh, yeah, Donnie's track on the show. I mean, he works long, long days. Not Greg Jbara as DCPI, because Tom Selleck has a really sweet scheduling deal, and I only work with him. So I don't wake up. The, I work maybe 4 hours a day, and I'm already cut loose by lunchtime because
No.
that's how Tom likes to work. So I don't even know what it's like to really work hard on that show. And those other people did. And the two women who left are going, I really want my own thing.
Yeah.
I'll go try and do my own thing. I love you all. This is great, but yeah, and that's what was wonderful too, was they were given the opportunity to pursue,
And the
their own.
writers were very clever with it, weren't they? So, for instance, when Linda left the show, we had a new story, and it was interesting with Danny the way you didn't know that Linda had been killed, and then you find this out, and it's like a bombshell, isn't it, really?
Yeah, yeah, right. Everything happened off camera and before that episode started. Uh, it was a way of dealing with scheduling logistics. They weren't able to get her to shoot, uh, an episode where she dies. So I thought they managed that well. And then they really got some juice out of it because you kept coming back to who did it, who did kill, you know, and was it an accident or was it, revenge? Uh, yeah, I thought, the writers handled that really well.
And what was it like working with Tom Selleck? Because obviously the majority of your scenes were with him. You've already spoken about him, but it
Uh,
must have been
we,
an amazing
we,
thrill, really.
yeah, yeah, I still, like I said, like just last week, I was bragging that, he called me. Um, it's still a really cool thing,
Yeah.
it's Tom Selleck. He's actually an international star. And, uh, um, we had an episode where Garrett was, um, he was taking favors, free tickets, and not unethically, but because of his proximity to the commissioner, people want to get close to the DCPI because everybody's looking for favors. And there's an unspoken rule: you can't get free meals, you can't go. You can't do that because then it looks like you're on the arm. And it was an episode that called Garrett out. There was going to be an article in the paper exposing Garrett as having, and in the very end, there was this great. They have a conversation in the office, and it's about um, the two of them bearing their souls about how much they mean to each other. And it really, the relationship between Commissioner and DCPI and Tom Selleck and Greg Jbara really parallels because he has fostered some of the greatest job experiences of my life. And if not for him going, oh, I want Greg to do this, they wouldn't have happened. So there we did the first take of that scene, and we were both weeping like babies because it was so true to the genuine love that we have for each other. And then we went, okay, we can't use that take. That's just too Hallmark. So and then we did another take where we fought the tears. And that's what they ended up using. And it was much more interesting. But it was everybody's going, they're all watching off, on the monitors, and we finished that first take. Everybody's going, "Oh my God, you guys are so beautiful," and we're like going, "Yeah, well, it didn't require much acting because it was like Kevin Wade just went into our heads and wrote what we actually feel. So it was so simple to play. So that's what it's like working
Yeah.
with
And
Tom.
you was also nicknamed Mrs. Reagan, wasn't you, at one point, I remember, on the show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know what? That was Tom's idea. That was an ad lib in rehearsal, and everybody loved it, so it stayed in. Mrs. Reagan and Slim too. When I lost all the weight, and then they put it in the show. Yeah, that was Tom always, uh, coming up with some nuggets that have that stuck in the
Yeah,
best
it,
way.
it must be interesting playing a character for that long because, as you say, the character changes, doesn't it?
He definitely changed weight. I lost 85 pounds while working on that show. Uh, and only because I gained it. Well, that's not true. I was pretty heavy, but you go from doing a Broadway show where you're walking the streets of New York and performing for 3 hours, 8 times a week. You stay in shape. Plus, you can't eat and drink because you got to keep your voice in shape, right? Now you're on a TV show where I live in LA, and a car picks me up, and the driver carries all my stuff, and I sit in a car, and then I sit in a plane, being fed and watching movies. And then another, I just got fat and I loved it. And every night I'm out with all the friends and family who I haven't seen because, I lived in New York for 15 years before moving to LA. And I just, it was time to stop killing myself. And it was, the, when I came back from what was the goal? I'm going to lose 59 pounds on my 58 pounds on my 58th birthday. So September 28th of 2018, I started a regimen. Our whole family did it. We hired a nutritionist. Best thing we ever did. It took about 3 months to really go, oh, okay, I really can do this long term. But I showed up after Christmas break and everybody went, whoa, somebody lost some weight. And Tom goes, you know what we got to do? We have to put it into the show. We have to mention your weight loss because people are going to think you're like you have cancer or have are dying because it's going to be such a shift that people are they're going to go, oh, there's something wrong.
To be honest, it
And
sounds terrible, but that's what I thought when I saw. I was like, "Look at poor
no,
Garrett.
right,
What happened to him?"
of course, and because we've also seen that with a lot of people on TV, right, who suddenly fall ill, and we all know people who are battling with illness, and that's what it looks like. And so, Tom said we need to put a spotlight on it so we're not pretending it's not happening, and so people know that. But it still took a while. I mean, I was dying of everything for a while on social media, and a part of my ego is going, I've actually worked really, really hard
Yeah.
to change, stop drinking and eating red meat and cheese and bread, and I'm really miserable. So, not really. Actually, now I'm really, really happy. But even Kevin Wade goes, you know what? We have an episode in the pipeline about obesity in the police department. We can rewrite it so that Garrett becomes an advocate for health because of your own personal journey. And it was just a coincidence that was coming. And Kevin heard Tom say, we need to put a spotlight so people don't think Greg's dying. And it just like synergistically was perfect. And then they went and cleaned up Garrett's office. I do miss the mess. But all those stacks of newspapers and files and chairs that Tom couldn't sit in, and everything went away, and I had crystals on the desk, and it was like, it was a great change that our writers did just to deal with my personal life, which I thought is quite amazing that they can incorporate that and allow me, Greg, the human, to be his best self, not because someone at the network's going to go, oh no, we liked you heavy because that's different.
Yeah.
You know,
They adapted the story.
yeah, they said, no, we'll let you live.
Great.
We'll support your health.
And what was your favorite scene as Garrett Moore, do you think?
My favorite scene, there's a lot, but I get a phone call from our casting office, and they say, Greg, we're gonna we actually have to cast your wife. So we're wondering, and they knew I'd been a New York actor for 2 decades by then. They said, are there any actresses that you know in New York that you'd like us to see? And I'm thinking, wow, because our casting office, Bowling Misha, they're amazing, and they always bring, like almost every episode, I get to play with one of my Broadway pals. They get someone in that I go, God, it's good to see, BB Newworth, and I mean everybody. So I thought, oh, you're really asking my opinion? Wow, and then it just took 5 minutes off it was an email. It took 5 minutes away to go, oh no, 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 I don't want that responsibility. Because if word gets out that I suggested somebody, and there are 50 women I know in New York who could play the role, and if any of them catch wind that I didn't recommend them, I'm a dead man. So I said to our casting office, you know what? you guys do such a great job. Thank you. Flattering the offer. I'm just going to let you do what you do. And I know uh, whoever walks in the door that day will be winning. They hired, oh, now I'm 63, and it's Rebecca Eichenberger is her name. Rebecca Eichenberger, I was at her and her husband's wedding in the early 90s. Um, they had no idea our connection, and she was perfect. And so I got to work with the perfect casting that I had nothing to do with, who with an actress who I've known forever, who I had a very deep connection. My little brother dated her before she was married. I mean, that's how well I know this woman. She was best friends with my first wife. She's like I know her. They couldn't have cast, and she was brilliant in the role, underutilized. But it was that episode because I got to spend a couple of days with Rebecca Eichenberger, a dear old pal who I had nothing to do with her being there, and she was perfection. And we got to wax nostalgic about our lives because, since we both have kids and life and millions of other jobs, and um, we both had the crap beat out of us at our house. The In the story, an angry teen sought revenge and called in a SWAT hit on my house. And they had a stunt double for me to be dragged out in the front lawn and a boot put on my head and take a fall, be open field tackled by a SWAT officer. And I went, well, can I do it? I'd like to do all my own stunts. And it was Dave Barrett directing the episode. He goes, yeah, man. He goes, because he's from the stunt world. He goes, that'll be great because then I can use all the footage up close to your face when you're going down. And I was going, good, let's do this. And that was fun because our stunt department, like safety to a flaw. And I never, ever once felt in danger. And apparent, and well, I saw the final episode, and that boot to my head looked like I was being literally violently subdued, and I wouldn't even have known it was there. Like it was the only injury I had was rash on this side of my face because I kept crushing my head into the grass every time we do a fall take. So for me, the guy who, comes from theater, loves having a live audience, and now spends most of his time on this TV show in a sequestered soundstage. And when I do get to perform, work on the show out on location, and see all the people standing behind the PAs holding everybody back and going, oh, that's right. They think this is cool. It is cool. Right. This is a really cool thing. So I liked being out of the 1PP and doing some stunt work. And that was my favorite episode because I also got to work with Rebecca Eichenberger for the first time.
Brilliant. Well, it's been lovely to speak to you, Gregory, and thanks for the memories on the show. Big fan of the show. Started the podcast, so we're going to keep going.
Thanks, Chris. Are we saying goodbye?
Yeah, I've only got, unless you want to do another one, I've only got like 30 seconds left on the Zoom. So
let's say goodbye, but I think we should get Bob and Abby to come back on with me another time.
Oh, I'd love that. That would be fantastic.
Does that appeal?
Arrange that. That would be
all right.
amazing.